Hey everyone, it's David here. Just a little progress report. I've been working on the villagers as NPCs. I tried to just track them, but some of them kept disappearing, and I think they were actually dying, and that makes me feel sad. So I figured out how to free them. As you can see, some of them are up and down and around and around. What I did was actually see that's an object. It's a composter. That's a work object. Sorry, I'm just realizing that this head bit will stop them from coming back to this. But it's a job that involves plants. So someone will be here eventually. But villagers actually generally need beds. Right. That's why they're not using the ladders. So I made a little village down here. It's very sparse. Oh, goodness, there's a line of children. Isn't that adorable? Small people. So what I did was make a bed area, and then I give them access to their shop. Oops, that way. See, there's another shop. Oh, and an iron golem. Oh, that means they're going to have babies. Too many babies, people. But because the ladders weren't working, I forgot about this little detail. I actually made a grand stairwell so that they can go up the stairs and to their workplaces. This area underneath the mall, I'm actually hoping to turn into a subway. I just haven't. It's huge. It's the size of the mall. And they only seem to work within the villages. The system to make a village only seems to work in the context of like a certain radius, and I figured that the entire space is too much. So I cut it off with the fencing, even though it feels a little bit like an internment camp when I see the fencing. But see, it's nighttime, obviously, because they're asleep, some of them. Not all of them. For some reason, there are still folks wandering about in the mall randomly. See, there's another one. I'll see if they will go down their little hole. Oh no, it's already got a... Anyway. So I made all these little shops, and it's more chaotic, and for whatever reason they don't all go to bed. I don't know why, because I'm honestly trying to make it as accessible as possible for them. But being villagers, they're obnoxious. But we're getting there. I feel it feels less like enslavement. I mean, I know it's only digital enslavement, but I've also been experimenting with shelving and decorating said shelving. Painting seems to work relatively well. That's a zombie head and a creeper head, skeletons, bad guys if you don't play the game. So I've made like a little area which is a library, and this is another work object. So in the daytime there's a villager in this section, so I can imagine it's, you know, a book a section of the store that sells books and book related things. These are banners. I put the banners up just to sort of add extra flow, because from the outside it looks a little bit more interesting because these holes are quite big. So I put paintings in that one. That one was the original pretend first go. I haven't put shelves on this one. I've put shelves, but I haven't put something on the shelves yet. So I've just been experimenting with the shelving. I had fun with this particular area. This is an object. It's a loom, a work object, and you make pretty much all of these things. They sell pretty much all of these things. I think they even sell the banners. I can't remember. So there's colors. These are dyes and frames. You dye objects these colors. It's kind of fun. I obviously haven't got very far, mostly because these shelves I get impatient with them very quickly, so I only do a little bit at a time. And even though in the end of Rise of Hawk I've described the mall as having a stone floor, it currently has carpet because the carpet covers these squares glow, so they provide light. Without it, it would be very dark in every section. And one day when I turn if I'm going to have pillagers as agents, as the bad guys, we're going to need to turn on bad guys in general, put it on easy mode or something. And if there's a dark area, negative hostile mobs will spawn there, and we only want the hostile mobs that we're going to use. We don't need, zombies and creepers and oh god, baby zombies. Baby zombies are worse. They are horrible. They're really quick, and they kill you quick. Evil little buggers. You don't want them hanging about in the same area where you're trying to, film a store. A bunch of folks, in a stall. The other section, I'll just go this way because it's faster, is the surrounding, the other problems, the view from the roof. Asha should come out about halfway along the roof, so kind of hairish. I haven't done anything with the crawl space yet, but that's next on my list. See, most of these are pretty good. I added another 2 or 3 layers, or I think technically 4, to the parking lot, so it covers the butt ugly building. I might actually put a facade, a face on that building that's butt ugly. I really should stop using that word. This building does not look like a building. It looks like a block of nothing. So I might put a new face on it. See, it's flat. There's no detail. I haven't decorated it very much. I was thinking of putting a higher face on it, so it looks like a different kind of building, but it's still the same building on the inside. I've taken all of the torches off the roofs that you can see from here, because the torches looked awful. I plan on giving this building down there at least 4 or 5 more levels. I just have to figure out how I want to change the decoration because it's really boring and looks like that building. A lot of my buildings were brick, like blocks, just square blocks with color as the detail rather than also shape. See, this building, oops, I've added extra shape with different, like these are stairs, but when you put them this way and then that way, they have a nicer appeal than the flat walls. And also use buttons. I didn't even think to use buttons as decoration. It's kind of cool, although there's another building further along that I like better. And so I haven't done this decoration with a lot of the buildings, and some of the decoration is kind of crap. Like, I don't like this particular one. I just don't. I mean, it looks interesting, but it's kind of ugly. But, I mean, honestly, a lot of buildings are ugly in real life. So I want to make this building bigger, but I'm still thinking about how to decorate it and upgrade it. This was one of the earliest buildings that I made. So I need to upgrade it anyway. I also want to put some kind of factory, or like a, you know, one of those historical brick type, factory type buildings, like the one I did over here that you can see the top of. I'm quite proud of that one. But I'll have it over here so that when she's standing on the roof, or when my view is standing on the roof, you'll see the top of it because it's just there. I may even see this section, this big chunk of land that's currently blank is L-shaped, or apostrophe shaped, whichever way you want to use it. And I thought I could put maybe a car parking lot in the front and then have the pretty brick historical building in the back. I'd need to, because it's such a big block, oh, the chickens, I figured I might need to either have 2 buildings or 4 buildings, more buildings than just the one, or have it with different sections and different shapes with different heights. But it's going to take a while to design this particular block because it's big, but all it needs is to be tall enough to be seen from the roof. It doesn't need anything more. I'm still contemplating making this building over here bigger, because in the books, in Rise of Hawk, when she jumps off the roof, she's looking around, and all the buildings around her are either inaccessible, too short, like too far away short, like this one sort of works, even though I'm definitely going to make it bigger, because the road is really wide. It's too big. This distance is too big for her to use her kinetic ability, and it's too low to land on. Unless she was eagle, then she could do it, but she's not. And so that's low, and if she ran this way and jumped off, it's the same distance as the building she actually jumps onto. So I thought I might, this is another old, extremely old building, one of my original builds actually, so it's but ugly and square and doesn't have any fun, interesting details. Although I do believe it's got a fire escape. Yes, fire escapes. And I upgraded the lighting. It used to be filled with the torches. That's a torch, and it's literally fire on a stick, so it's kind of boring. I changed it to these lanterns, which are a little prettier, and they have a little bit more light, seemingly. But I'll have to upgrade that as well, make it taller, maybe change the shape or something. Although I do like the view of these, this ridiculously large factory-ish building. This building took an entire season of Star Trek, I think. Might have been Next Generation even. I can't remember. It was a while ago. I think it's still got torches on the inside. Yes, still has torches on the walls. But it looks like I've upgraded the rest of it, or parts of it, to not torches on the walls. I like the look of that building. It was my first try at making a building based on a real building that actually felt like it succeeded. This was before I did the brownstones and the art gallery and all the other bits and pieces. I still think it needs a bit of an upgrade, and the shape, it's still flat. So I'm hoping to be able to upgrade it a little bit and give more detailed sort of shapes on it. But that's a project for later. At the moment, I'm just trying to focus on the Rise of Hawk stuff. So for the buildings around, I want to upgrade that one so it's taller. I want to upgrade this one so it's got a more interesting face on it, so that if you see any of it from in the animation, it will be more interesting than that, but that terrible, boring looking block with glass ceiling. The glass ceiling is because there's I had this idea that the horses needed sunlight. I don't know if they do need sunlight. They're probably not that complicated. And at one point I thought also, like, there's crops in there as well. See, I had a little garden. I thought the garden also needed sunlight. I mean, I was always going to have this hole in the ceiling because it's easy to fly. I mean, I found out much later that you don't. You just need light for the gardens to work. You probably only need light just for the horses to work. But this was a really early on building, so there was a lot about Minecraft I didn't know. And I just haven't fixed it yet because I'm too busy, having fun with other buildings. I just find it amusing. At one point I had thought that the horses could be the pretend cars, but the horses wouldn't stay if you used a lead and tied them up to something, to a fence or whatever. They wouldn't stay there. They somehow broke free and wandered around, and I've got sheep and chickens and other non-hostile creatures already wandering the grounds. I don't need horses too. So a higher building there, a higher, less ugly face for that building. I want to have that brick historical building style sort of ex-factory sort of look building there, and it needs to be at least 5 or 6 stories tall to be seen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That should be 10. Oh well. So it needs to be this high-ish to be able to be seen from the roof. I also have to do the crawl space. I actually have to figure out how you can make... Is there a magic button that you press to make your character crawl? I don't know. Because when they can crawl, they can fit through a 1 meter by 1 meter space, like the space of a brick, a block. At the moment, the person, the character shape, they take up like 2 meters by 1, so 1 wide, 2 high. But if you can get them to crawl, that's inverted, so it's 1 high, 2 long. But I don't know how to do that yet, to make it more realistic as a crawl space. Although filming in a crawl space, I can't imagine how irritating that would be. Oops. At the moment, the crawl space, as I showed earlier, is just a ladder that goes up the length of the building. There's also this which is the literal roof. I put these lamps down because if you put the lanterns, they are objects that you stand on and interact with, and it's really annoying to walk through a room filled with lanterns, whereas these, they don't interrupt you. I'm still worrying on the combat problem. I had an idea that maybe what I need is like some kind of redstone circuit, which is kind of like the electricity but for Minecraft, so that as I walked the character through a particular area, it would trigger a dispenser machine and manifest a pillager. So I'll just close that, otherwise the villagers will get out. So once she gets here and she's stealing the nappy or diaper for the Americans, there'll be like a button and I can click it while standing on it, and then the dispenser will put an agent here or a pillager there. I don't know how to like pretend to throw a palm tree at them, but I'm sure there's a way of doing something. I may just, shoot them with a crossbow or something. I don't really know. I'm trying to figure it out. But I thought maybe it could be a redstone circuit, and then, she runs and gets halfway up into the store, and maybe there's another button somehow. It'll encroach on the village underneath. If I could figure out how to do redstone circuits and then put in a dispenser, maybe I can put the pillager dispenser in and go from there. But the thing is, I don't know anything about redstone circuits. I've tried to learn them, but when you're sick and you're on opiates because you're in pain and your brain does not process things or learn things as well, and now that I'm off all of those sorts of pain meds, I'm still not braining so well. I lose words all the time. It's really irritating. I don't know whether I can learn how to use redstone circuits or not, but we'll see what happens. As I said previously, I may have to settle for an imperfect product, an imperfect recording for the audiobook, because it's really a fun project rather than I'm getting paid for it kind of thing, so it doesn't have to be terribly serious. I mean, tell me, how terribly serious does that place, that part of the store look? I mean, it's all rainbow and there's a chess set sort of cross pattern on the floor and all sorts. Also, this is my favorite painting. Who doesn't? Well, lots of people don't like spiders, but I love spiders. I will avoid hitting that villager who keeps getting in the way. So there's been a little bit of progress, and I've killed quite a few villagers in my process of trying to make things work for them. I might just see if this makes it easier to... Yes, it does. Okay, cool. So we're in their village. Some of them are sleeping and some of them are not. That's odd. Oh, you fellas bugger off. Anyway, there's always problems. Hopefully that wasn't too meandering and you've seen some of my progress and my plans. I'm separating the combat bar NPC problem from the making building adaptations problem. I'm making them two separate problems because the solutions are incredibly different. The buildings will just take time. I mean, that old brick one that I made that I showed you before, factory, X factory, it took like 2 weeks, I think, or a week. Not every day, all day, but you know, 2 or 3 hours, maybe 4 a day, you know, for a while. So they're not small projects, these buildings, they're huge. And the NPC problem is, so like the building problems are time and design and thinking about sort of how I want it to look and then figuring out how to make it look as much like that, my image, as possible. Whereas the NPC and combat problem is a problem that I don't have a solution for yet. I don't know whether redstone circuits will help. I don't actually know how a dispenser works, so it may not be an appropriate response to the problem. I may just have to make it look like a store as much as possible and then just do a walkthrough of the region, of the spaces overlapped with the reading out, the audiobook part. So it doesn't have a solution, a definite solution. Whereas the buildings, I'm pretty good at making buildings. Once I get that, figure out the vision for it, I'll just do it. You know, making those 2 buildings taller will probably take, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours maybe, because it's not complicated. It's just the complicated bit is getting a vision in my head that's clear and then figuring out how to apply it. But with the NPCs, it's just a bit more complicated. But I don't mind because it's kind of fun and joyous, and when I get frustrated with the villagers, I can just lock them in this room and you know, spawn a bunch of pillagers and watch them all die, and then, you know, make more villagers, and then it's quite therapeutic. It's interesting. I have a problem with their enslavement, but not their murder. I'm not entirely sure of the psychology of it, particularly as they're not real. I guess the problem with the enslavement pit is that it's not that they're suffering, it's that it seems ideologically incompatible with me, whereas like the murder of them is that they're not really real, they're not people. I wouldn't watch someone murder a bunch of real people and enjoy it. So it's, you know, one's an ideological clash and the other's just sort of simulated murder, like, you know, movies. It's just silly stuff. But the fact that you can enslave villagers to get particular resources, and if you go into a lot of, there's different kinds of players in Minecraft, and you get they get like, I can't remember what they're called. You can make setups that produce resources really quickly. You used to be able to use pistons and stuff to make an automatic farm, for example. So you didn't have to go through and fix up the fields and add the seeds and then go through each fully grown crop. You just make the structure and then it would collect all of the crops and stuff in a box. I think you usually only needed to put seeds down yourself, or if you have villagers, they do it for you. So there's a lot of these sorts of resource generating structures that involve basically the enslavement, and it's the fact that this is a normal part of the game. You start the game and you start chopping down wood, you start digging up sand, you start building a base, clearing out areas of trees, setting up security areas, and then you go in your mine and you get out iron and resources. It's very colonizer mindset. This entire world exists for me, and I can take whatever I want, and I can even enslave the local folks. It's just ideologically dodgy. I mean, I'm sure they didn't intentionally, make a game that sort of embodies the colonizer mindset, but because there's lots of games that do that. I mean, like Civilization is another perfect example. Actually, most resource-based games are basically the same model, but it's probably just because I love Minecraft so much that I notice it. But that's okay. It's an imperfect world, and I'm trying very hard not to enslave my villagers. They do have their own, beds, if they can just be bothered to use them. Okay, that will probably have to change. There we go. I'll have to do it this way. See if they actually use the ladder next time. They're ornery critters. They don't do what you tell them to do. It gets very irritating. Like that one's just, I think it's a kid. Might be. Would you go downstairs? No? Alright, okay, it's dawn. See, the sky is orange and rising. I don't know why the kid's not doing anything, but that's okay. It's not the end of the world. There's definitely enough beds for him. Anyway, it is half an hour. I'm going to shut up now. Hopefully the next update can be shorter. I don't seem capable of doing short things of any variety. Although short stories I can do, as long as they're about 4,000 words or more. I'll update hopefully in another week. So, ara ni tasa.